Greetings. I welcome you all to my first graphics design video tutorial. I am Okam Gospel, and I will be teaching us and showing us the ways and applications through which we can use with the help of our smartphone to design graphics or design flyers or design postcard or design complimentary card or design birthday cards of various types. Here, I'll be introducing us to the applications or apps that will enable us in accomplishing these tasks. The first application I'll be introducing us to is from this. The first application will be this application, this app that I just circled now, and the name is what? Remove.ng. What is the function of this app? Let me open it. Let it load. The function of this app is to what? Automatically what? Remove the background of the picture or image you want to use in your what? Design. And mind you, or note this application runs while your data is what? On. Let's upload an image so as to remove the background. Okay. It takes few seconds and our background is off, letting me have only my what? Image. Now, what is the next procedure? We click on download, and the picture that has been removed background download into my system, my phone gallery. I click on gallery. It takes me direct to remove.ng. This is the image I just removed the background from. So let's get back to the next application for us to use. The next application for us to use to accomplish our tasks is this. And what is it called? Pixel Lab. In this Pixel Lab, let me click open it. Sorry, this was the design I was running. In this Pixel Lab, okay, let's wait for the advert to play finish. Thank you. In this Pixel Lab, this is the application that will enable us to run our design, and I will be taking time to explain to us each of the elements and features of this Pixel Lab. Stay put as we ride on. The first element I would like to discuss on is this. This letter A. This letter A I just clicked now. The essence of this letter A is denoted as what? Alphabet. Once you click the text, this sign that has what? The text. Sorry. Once you click this sign that has what? The text. The text. You will notice that an icon, new text, will come up. And once this new text comes up, you will be given the freedom or the access to edit to your tests, the tests that you want or the test that you have inputted. For us to edit this new test, we first of all click on what? The first element, not the styles. The second element, edit. If you click on the edit, you will be given the liberty to edit this text. Okay, let's put Pixel in caps lock. Pixellab in caps lock. Okay, click OK. Now we have edited the text to Pixellab. Now the next option is, if you want to delete, automatically remove the text folder from your from here. If you want to delete it, you will have access to delete it. If you want to copy, you click on copy and it duplicates the text that you want to. But let me delete one. I've deleted one already. If you want to bring it to the front, that is when you have an image covering the text, you can bring it to the front. If you want to take it to the back, you can take it to the back. If you want to reposition it, this is a key for you to reposition to any direction, sideways, up and down. And you can increase or decrease the speed at which you can use to what? Move your content. The next is what? Relative positioning. Relative position is for you to what? Centralize it either at the center, or middle, or sideways, or up or down. But let's leave it at the center. The next is what? Text size. The next is what? Text size. With this element, you are enabled to what? Increase and decrease the font, the size of what? Your text. You can increase or decrease the size of what? Your text. The next is padding. Padding is to create space between the sides of what? Your text. You can create the space. If the space is not enough, you can still give it more space to enable space between after your first letter word and the last letter word. Color. In this place, you are enabled to what? You are given the free element to what? Change the color of your text. You can change the color depending on what you want, but for this, let's leave it as what? Black. And also in this color, you can also merge two colors at the same time and also change it. That is gradient. You can merge two colors at the same time and also what? Change it. But let's leave it as what? Black. After the color, we have texture. What is the essence of this texture? The essence of this texture is what? Enable you input images within what? Your text. Like if you don't want your text to have the black color, you can click on the texture. Here we have no texture selected. You click on this gallery icon, it takes you to your gallery. Then you can, from your gallery, select any image that you so desire to fit in. Let's use just the head. You see? Now, instead of having a black color word, the face now has been added, and is now the color of the text. The color of what? The text. If I increase the size of this, you can view the images there. And the next is opacity. What is opacity? Opacity means making something look thick or faint. That is, if you want to reduce the outlook of this, you can reduce the opacity. But if you want to make it visible, you can increase what? The opacity as well. And this is rotate. Mind you, you can rotate your text either any angle 180 degree, angle 90 degree, or at any angle you so what desire. And what is mask? Mask, we all know, is to cut out some space or some elements from what we are working with. That is, if you want to create a kind of a design, or you want to merge two colors in one text, you can use your mask to cut and what? Design that. Font. Here, we all know what font is all about. Font, we all know what font is all about. Font is to change the size of what? Or the look of your text. Here we have fonts. These are the fonts that come with Pixellab. These are the fonts that come with Pixellab. And these my fonts are the fonts that you can download from the internet and install them in your Pixellab. There are more to learn. Stay put. Okay, let's look for a font to choose font that suits us. Okay, let's go with Montserrat. Okay, bold. We click OK. So this is our font. Let me remove this texture for a better view. This is our Montserrat font. Okay, the next one is style. And in this style, the B stands for what? Bold. And our text is already bold. The Italian I stands for what? Slant. And this stands for what? Underline. The T that is crossed means that you don't want any change. You want to cancel all change. So you cancel everything and it returns back to what? Normal. The next, curve. Curve enables you to curve or to put the shape of your text at any way you want. You can curve it at this point, inward or outward. You can curve it inward or outward. Inward or outward, depending on the way you choose to curve your text. Text background. Text background is if you want to add a text background, you click enable and your text gets a background. You can change the color of your text background to any color you want, to any design color you want. You can change the color of your background, and at the same time you can change the gradient. That is, you can mix two colors for your what? Background as well. You can have yellow and black, you can have blue and red, depending on your choice. And also you can left pad, that is, move the color, that is the background of your text. You can move it at any point you want. This is right padding. you can move it at any end you want. This is top padding. You can move it at any end you want. This is bottom padding. You can move it to any end you want. This is the radius. You see the effect that the radius is giving to my shape. So that is that for what? Text background. Alignment. Align. We all know what align is. You can centralize your word, your sentence. You can shift it to the left, justify it to the left. You can also justify it to the right. That is for align. Space. Spacing enables you to space out the letters. Look at it is now on the letters. If I want to space out the letters, it gives me free liberty to space out the letters. And if I don't want to space out the letters, if it is the words that are too conjoined or too joined together, there is no space between the words, I can space out the words depending on the space I want in between words. And the next online is what? Line spacing. Line spacing is the space between the line of our text. The space between the line of our text. If I want to increase it, okay. If I want to increase it, I can increase it down or keep it the way it was. And the next is stroke. Stroke. What is the importance of stroke? The importance of stroke is to what? Cause a design around the edge of what? Our text. Once I click it, let me change the color so that you can see the effects. Let me put it to red. The stroke, you can increase the width of the stroke like this, depending on your text. You can increase the width of the stroke. You can change the color depending on your choice. You can use it and design so many effects or make so many changes. And also the gradient, you can mix two colors depending on what you choose to design. Shadow, just like human shadow, you can also add shadow to your text. Once you click on shadow, you enable it, it pops up. You can increase the radius of your shadow. You can increase the radius of your shadow. By clicking this enable, you make your shadow to what? Look more visible to the eye. That is, it glows well compared to how it was earlier. And offset X, you can make your shadow to move towards the left hand side or towards the right hand side. And offset Y, you can make it to move upward or downward. That is, at any angle or shape at which you want it to be. Let's keep it at what? 5, positive 5. Okay, let's keep it at negative 5, negative 5. Okay, this is the effect of what? Our shadow. The next is in shadow. This is, remember, the shadow that we just finished treating now is what? The outer shadow. The shadow that we are going to treat now is what? The inner shadow, the shadow within our text. Let me off the outer shadow so that we will see the effects of the what? Inner shadow. Let me change this text color to white. I've changed the text color to white. Now let's go to outer shadow. The inner shadow now, let me click open. Do you notice something? Let me change the color. Let me change it to black. and increase the radius. You see, this is the effect of what? Our inner shadow. This is what the effect of our inner shadow. Just as we stated in our outer shadow, you can change the size by shifting it left or shifting it right. That is offset X, and offset Y by bringing it down or what? Taking it up, depending on what? The side you want your shadow to take. Depending on what? The side you want your shadow to what? Take. Okay, let's leave it at okay, let me just off it totally. Let me off it totally. Embossment. Emboss. This is the effect of emboss, just to what? Show a design around what? Your text. That is all. And perspective. Perspective enables you to make your text take a particular shape that you want it to what? Look like. You can what? Drag by holding this point. By holding this point, you can drag it. You can drag it. Okay, let me enable it. You can drag it to this point. You see the way our text looks like now. I've given our text another look with effect of the elements that I'm working with now, which is what? Perspective. I've given our text another look. If I don't want it, I click on this with turn arrow. But let's leave it at this point. Okay, let's leave it at this point. Let's disable it. The next is what? 3D rotation. 3D rotation. Remember, our text itself is in 2D text format. The text that we have now is in 2D. So now let's give it a 3D text effect. Now we can rotate this. This is 3D text rotation. This is 3D text rotation as you so desire. And for us to give it a 3D text effect, we click on what? 3D text, enable. Okay, now our 2D text file has now gotten a depth and a height. Yes, it has gotten what? A shape behind it. Let me show you. From the perspective, you can see. Let me disable it. You see, this is our 2D text. Once I click on enable, based on the perspective, you will notice there is a change in our text. And if I click on oblique view, you will also notice a change in our text. But let's leave it at perspective. Depth. At this depth, you can make the depth of, that is, the shape of your text look long. Are you seeing the changes? Depending on how you want it to be. And the depth color, you can make it to be automatic gradient by having two color or by having a single word color. And the darken is 30%. That is how thick you want your depth of your text to appear or look like. Now let's make it look more thick to the eye. And extrude stroke enabled. If you want it to look like what it is shown, you can make it look by this enabling it, but I want to enable our extrude stroke. Then if you want to rotate your 3D text effect, X rotation, if you want it to be what, upward or downward, you can rotate it. Okay, let's give it at -10 for our X rotation. Let's come to our Y rotation. You can rotate it at any side you want, but at this point, let's give it at what? Let's give it at +10, and let's give this at what? 1. Okay, our Z rotation gives us what? A 180 or 90 degree what? Rotation. Let's make it at 0 degrees. Now our X rotation okay, that is that for what? Our 3D effect. Let's come to oblique. This is a kind of an enhanced or elongated effect to what? Perspective. Let's disable. Now 3D shadow. Let's see how our 3D shadow looks like. This is 3D shadow. You can make your opacity, that is the visibleness of your what? Shadow, to become thick or what? Become what? Faint, depending on how you want it to be. The opacity to become faint, depending on how you want it to be. And the radius, you can make it appear more thicker or appear rough at the edges. Expand by 10. Expand, you can make it elongate or what? Shrink it a bit, not to be what? Too visible to the eyes. That is for 3D shadow. And for the next, which is the last on the text addiction, is what? Reflection. Reflection is to have a reflect of what? The text that you have inputted. And this is how our reflection looks like. You can elongate it, you can distance the reflection from the main text, or bring it to be into what? The main text, depending on what you choose to or what you desire from what? Your design, or what you want to achieve in your what? Design. At this point, we will take break even as we unfold other aspects of this class. Thank you.